there. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Explain of Thrones. In this episode, we'll be going over this week's episode, 7.4, Spoils of War. Tonight I have my wife, Melissa.
Hello.
And her cousin, Robin.
Hi, guys.
And yeah, I want to say right off the bat, wow, that was a great episode. So exciting.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack in that one.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, probably the best one, I think, this season.
Yeah, I would even go so far as to say the best one in a few seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, Battle of the Bastards is still probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Up there. Yeah.
For me, it's Hard Home.
So good.
I thought Hard Home was pretty great, but
yeah,
this one was definitely helped by the ending battle, which in many ways was the opposite of Hard Home.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that a little bit later. I guess we should start at the beginning.
That sounds like a good place to start.
So it started off with Bronn and Jaime.
So my question was, does Bronn even know Jaime in the books? He's carrying black.
No, not at all. Bronn and Jaime never meet. They never come together. Bronn, remember how, I think it was 2 seasons ago when Jaime went and collected Bronn to bring him down to Dorne?
Sure.
So when he was there, which I also wanted to address this because remember Bronn was all like, well, I really want a castle. But those 2 seasons ago, we saw him with the, Lawless Stokeworth, who's different in the books, but is who he marries in the books.
Okay.
And he was going to get married to her. Remember, he was telling Tyrion he couldn't be his champion because of that.
Yeah.
And then in this episode, he was telling Jaime what he really wanted was a castle, but, he should be on his way to getting Stokeworth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Castle Stokeworth is a kind of important castle near King's Landing.
Okay.
But yeah, the other thing that's a big change is instead of Jaime training with Bronn, he's actually training with Sir Ilan Payne.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the mute, who it's pretty perfect because that way Jaime doesn't have to worry about anyone finding out that he sucks with a sword now.
That's right.
Whereas Bronn is one of the most talky persons there is.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's one of those changes that I actually do like from show to book. I think that they're great together, and I'm glad that Bronn got to go on the journey to Dorne, even if it was kind of weird.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely one of the best things about those episodes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime Bronn's around, it's a party, so.
Yeah. Just cracking jokes, making fun of Dickon's name.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Just every time, he just laughs at it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So great.
It's great to just see him having fun. One of my other favorite scenes that was added was back before the Battle of the Blackwater when Bronn's preparing. And he's just having a good time with it. The Hound's being all somber. And Bronn's like, cheer up, man.
Yeah.
But, we were saying, right off the bat with that location, it looked like the Old West.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It was kind of in a lot of ways. We watched the behind the episode, and the showrunners were calling it the Loot Train Battle, and it's wow.
Yeah, I did. I read it. I read that somewhere too.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, so it's exactly an old Western movie.
Picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's fair. I didn't think of that, but it really did have that kind of feel. Looks rocky. Get a little ahead of things, but yeah.
Yeah. And I guess once again we'll come back to it, but it was really emphasized by the Dothraki being Indians, essentially.
Yes.
or Native Americans, PC. But yeah, not a whole lot went on in that first scene. It was just them conversing. And then the next scene, we had the Bravosi banker again, Mycroft Holmes.
Mycroft.
Tycho
Yes,
Mycroft. And so he's apparently like, whoa, you're going to get all that money back that soon. That was amazing.
Yes, apparently 2 weeks have passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cersei is completely confident that all the gold will be there in no time.
Yes, because he even says, he's like, sure, we'll back you up when we have the money. You know?
Yeah, which I was kind of like, I found it weird that they're so immensely in debt. And the Tyrells, I mean, I know they're like the richest house and everything, but there was more than enough to go around that they could pay off their debt, like just like that. And also another weird thing, this might have been another time we were with Jamie and Bronn, but didn't Randall Tarley say that they were taking all of the current harvest of the Reach?
I think he had them working on something.
Yeah.
Like flog them for being slow or something like that.
Well, yeah, he was being very typical Tarley in that way. That was a very Randall thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, what it was he said that he sent Bronn off, remember?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
To go help, get the farmers to give up their crops and stuff. But isn't it supposed to be winter?
Winter is coming.
Well, I guess it's coming. So
Yeah.
But, well,
it hasn't reached that far south yet. Even though in King's Landing, Cersei's wearing...
yeah, and we saw it snowing in the Riverlands. I thought that I thought that winter had come at this point. But maybe not. Maybe not quite there, so they still have their stores of grain and everything.
Yeah. Or they're still working on it, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, this was definitely one of the better episodes. I didn't really have any major nitpicks or anything to complain about. It seemed like, you know, they're advancing the plot pretty well and things are making sense again. Then we get Bran and Littlefinger.
Ah, yes, Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, every week, is just there to creep everybody out.
Right.
It's consistent, like, every week they have a scene with him being a creep.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
think...
like,
Yeah, it just goes back to what we said last week, where they just really don't have a good understanding of his character anymore.
Yeah, or what he's doing. Because, like, Sansa kind of alluded to, like, oh, if he gave you that knife, that means he wants something in return. Mm-hmm. But shouldn't she have really said, if he gave you that knife, there's a reason for it? Or, you know, I don't think it was necessarily that, and Sansa should know this because she understands how Littlefinger operates in this way. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that he wants something in return, but that it's going to be used against you later in some way. Someone said, like, having them two in the scene, it's like, who can out-creep each other?
Yeah, both the creepiest characters.
Mm-hmm. Now that Bran has gone full crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Bran, yeah. He's a little hard to watch, I think, Bran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
Just both of those characters, it really feels like they've strayed so far from where they're going in the books that it's hard for the show writers to write them properly. Really.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, when you look back on seasons 1 and 2, they're so almost identical to what the books are, and that's why they're so good. Because
right.
George R.R., of course, has a great understanding of what these characters are.
Yeah, and where things are going.
Left to their own devices, it's just falling a little flat. I don't know. We still have time. We still have a few more episodes in this, half season, and then we have the second half. So
yeah.
Maybe they'll be able to turn it around somehow.
Maybe
I'm underestimating them.
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel a lot of the time. It's like, am I being too hard on them? Are they possibly building towards something? But
because it would be awesome if they were.
Would,
if we're like, oh, this sucks, and then all of a sudden they like blow our minds.
Right, yeah. So I
take back everything.
Yeah, no, I totally allow that they could be doing it, but I think we've been disappointed too many times in the past. Like, just off the top of my head, last season with Marjorie and Tommen and the High Sparrow. Like, remember there was a scene where Tommen spoke with the High Sparrow off camera, and, like, Marjorie seemed to be up to something too, and I kind of thought, like, the three of them had something up their sleeve, but no, they just all died.
They might have.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like that's so disappointing. If they did have something that they were coming around to, and they don't show us anything, then that means the writers didn't have any idea of what they could do. And like same with Littlefinger, for after the first season, because first season you have no idea what he's about. You just know he's creepy, but like he's such a schemer, and he's responsible for the war in so many ways. He's the one who betrays Ned and causes him to lose his head, and after that you're like legitimately scared when Littlefinger is on screen of like, what is he up to? How is this going to go wrong for everyone? But the past few seasons I'm not scared of Littlefinger anymore. And the whole thing with, like, giving Bran the dagger, like, maybe there's a reason for it, but I kind of just feel like the whole reason they did that was to give Littlefinger something to do, since since we know that he has the dagger, and to give it to Arya so that she'll eventually, she'll probably use it to, like, kill a White Walker or something.
There's something cool with it.
Yeah, now that she has Valyrian steel. And, and to switch creeps on us, the thing with Bran and saying chaos is a ladder, it's like, I get that it's supposed to show that Bran's kind of like, I know your tricks, Littlefinger, like, I know who you are, you can't fuck with me, basically. But that raises the question, does Bran know that Littlefinger is essentially responsible for all those things I just listed? For causing the war, and for Ned being betrayed and killed, ultimately?
I mean, you would think so. If he knew about Sansa, he'd know about Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Right? Like...
Yeah, and then it's kind of like, I'm kind of trying to figure out what's Bran's game plan here. Like, why even let Littlefinger know that? Like, what purpose does that serve? Other than, like, so now Littlefinger's kind of like, oh, okay, what's going on? That's weird. But that almost makes Bran more vulnerable, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't have a game plan. I think he's just like, whatever, man.
I'm not Bran anymore.
I've expanded my mind. I don't care about these petty little fights.
If it was all in his mind. I read somewhere that quote that Bran, when he said chaos is a ladder, that was something that Littlefinger and Varys.
Yep.
It was, because you had asked me about it when we were watching it, right? Okay. It's one of my favorite sequences from the first 3 scenes, and I was watching a thing that like cut to that scene where it's such a great scene, and it made me just, like, really miss the early seasons of the show.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one where it was just the two of them, right?
So, yeah, it's where Varys gives one of my favorite Catty Varys lines. So Varys walks into the Red Keep, and Littlefinger is sitting on the throne, I think, or just looking at the throne or something. And Littlefinger is like, "It's an ugly old thing, but it serves its purpose." And Varys goes, "The Lysa Arryn of chairs." Which is such a good burn for Littlefinger. But it gets so much better because then after that, they do, they start having their verbal sparring and everything, and Littlefinger's theme music comes in, which is so perfectly brought in at different points when he's scheming. And that's when he says, chaos is a ladder. Some may try to climb it, but like they'll always fall unless they understand the ladder and how to use it. And as they're doing this, they're cutting to, because Littlefinger's also kind of threatening Varys by saying, I know that you were paying the whore Roz to spy on me, and so I gave her to Joffrey to do what he wanted, and they're cutting to Joffrey having shot her with a crossbow.
Yeah.
It's a really great sequence, and yeah, I absolutely loved that when it happened. It's just like one of your big reminders that Littlefinger is just awful.
Yeah, and like really in this game.
Mm-hmm,
but now it doesn't feel like he is at all.
Nope. Littlefinger is there to be weird now.
He's so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the creepy uncle of Westeros.
Yeah. And then, let's see, after that, Mira came in and was just kind of sad that Bran's being all weird.
Yeah.
Which... Oh, go ahead.
He just seemed like they're, like another scene, like they're just really condensing the cast at this point.
Yeah,
like,
I think they're just getting Mira out of here.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because Mira is a great character. Like, I love... And another character that I kind of like that in the show, they made her even a little bit more... What would be the word? I guess, like, feisty? You know, like in the books, she's more just leading Bran and them somewhere, but like in the show, they had her and Osha kind of clashing, and that was kind of cool. But a good point was brought up. I believe this was in one of Preston Jacobs' videos, my favorite. And he was saying, like, the reason it's kind of difficult with Bran's personality change is that we didn't see his personality change. Like, that all happened off screen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, presumably, that must have happened after he went into the Weirwoods that last time. Remember when he was with Uncle Benjen? Mm-hmm. And then, like, Mira's trying to take him, but he's like, no, I must see. And then that's when he sees Ned and everything. At the Tower of Joy, that's when he finds out about Jon Snow's parents. But we didn't actually, like, understand why or see, like they could have done that whole, like, flood of cuts just, like, coming through his brain again. And maybe, like, Mira trying to, like, snap him out of it. And, like, at that point, he's, lost his mind and can't do it. But they never really showed us that transformation,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, I mean, like you said, if he's been that way for a while now, like, he and Mira have been traveling together for a while, so it's, like, why is she surprised that he's acting this way if he's been this weird for a while, Yeah, I mean, I guess just to show us, but... She's
been the only one with him the whole time. Like, she literally dragged him back.
From the wall, yeah.
Yeah, to the wall, then from the wall.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess, too, that he got that, like, wheelchair, like...
Oh, yeah, the Professor X chair.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a trigger, like...
Yeah, you're useless.
Yeah.
You She's useless to me.
Yeah.
Which
you are as good as a chair. Like, that's awful.
Isn't that also kind of hilarious that they're just like, oh, that's a really smart idea. It's like, that's probably the first wheelchair. That's a major medieval technology breakthrough. Pretty amazing, you know? I mean, it's not to the level of Sam curing grayscale overnight, but it is pretty amazing that they invented the wheelchair.
A lot of progress happening in Westeros.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Enlightenment now.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's about it for Bran and Littlefinger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So next, let's get to my least favorite character, who used to be my most favorite character. Arya gets back to Winterfell, and
I love how you see her looking at Winterfell from, like, you know, somewhat a distance, and then it cuts immediately to her there.
She's there.
Yeah, I was like, that was them filming it in real time. Like, that's how fast they travel now.
And she stepped down the hill, and she's there. But yeah, no, it's just like, this time, she's back to being a totally normal human being with, like, a great personality, and she's lots of fun, and she's chipper. You know? She's not mean like she was to Hot Pie. She's not a psychopathic murderer.
Well, she kind of is, because, like, she's telling Sansa, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to chill. And Sansa's like, you have a list?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing she said to the Lannisters.
But that's what I mean, is that, like she should be a total sociopath at this point. And, like, yeah, she did, like, kind of casually mention that, but her and Sansa have this, like, cute hug and everything, and they're all excited to see each other. And, by the way, why did none of them mention that Rickon was killed?
They never really liked their little brother.
Right? He's the most forgotten Stark.
He really is.
Because, like, she was asking the guards about Maester Luwin and about Roderick Cassell and all of them. And Sansa comes and is just like, oh, yeah, like, things are different now. No news to report on our little brother, who I saw get shot.
Yeah, she didn't care about that. She's like, you must call me Lady Stark.
Right.
That's what she cares about.
Oh, man.
She's called Lady Stark. But
yeah, they basically, like, pick what personality Arya's going to have this episode.
And, I mean, it's not like two of them ever really got along either, I thought. You know, like, there was always that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty good reunion and their relationship.
I thought that was totally fair, that, like, they were able to put all of their petty childhood problems aside, because they've both been through so much. Like, that was great.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, you know, for the nitpick about not mentioning Rickon, I did really like their reunion.
Yeah. They must have talked about Rickon on the way out to the woods.
Right. We didn't have to see that.
We didn't see it.
We as audience members don't need to be reminded that, you know, one of the heirs of Winterfell was shot and killed. But yeah, if we, I mean, I doubt, because there was so much in this episode, but if we have time at the end, I did have an idea for how to fix the Arya plotline, but
cool.
We'll see if we get to it. But yeah, there's a lot involved there too, because, like, then they had Brienne and Pod, you know, who are still one of the greatest combos.
Yeah, totally.
Another one, yeah, they're so great.
But did you catch that when Littlefinger and Sansa were watching Arya fight, you know, Sansa kind of had this, like, alarmed look, you know, almost like, holy crap, she really is, like, a murderer now or something, which I found interesting because, like, I would feel like Sansa would see that as a valuable asset.
Yeah.
You know, like why would she necessarily be upset that her sister, who was already into sword fighting and who she just found out is still alive, like, she should A, know that she probably had to fight to survive, and B, be happy about it. Wouldn't you think?
Well, and maybe it might have just surprised her, and maybe she's worried about her own her own neck.
Yeah.
We're like, I hope I'm not on that list.
Right. Remember that time that I stole her doll?
Yeah.
But I think she was more like worried about what her sister has become, maybe, or like surprised
that's fair.
that.
And maybe also after having had weird interactions with Bran, like, you know, they've all gone through so much that it's like, how much do I really know this person anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's all just very confusing.
So Sansa finally reunites with Jon, and she's upset with him because he won't listen to her. Finally reunites with Bran and is upset with him because he's all weird and mentions her rape. And then finally reunites with Arya and is upset with her because she's now a murderer. Like, she's batting 0 for 3 with the reunions.
Very true. This is not going, it's not a happy family Beckett.
No.
For sure.
But
I thought Littlefinger was a little nervous, too.
Well, that's what I was actually going to bring up when I said, did you catch?
Oh, yeah.
Littlefinger, though, I don't know if he was nervous. See, I think because this wasn't really covered in the show, but in the books, Littlefinger's family is Braavosi. So he was probably spotting her dancing style, the water dancing.
Oh, okay.
Let's forget the fact that the House of Black and White didn't teach her how to sword fight.
Yeah.
But I guess she still remembers from Syrio Forel.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he definitely would understand what the no one joke was.
Okay.
Yeah, when Brienne says, "Who taught you how to do that?" and she says, "No one," that would definitely.
And like Brienne's just like, "Oh, haha," but Littlefinger was probably like, because in the books even he talks about hiring faceless men and like how expensive they are. So if anyone would get that joke, it's Littlefinger.
Interesting.
So he must have an idea, and who knows, maybe they'll lead to some cool Littlefinger scheme.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't get excited.
I think he was also like, hey, how'd you get that knife? I didn't give it to you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Damn it, Bran.
Yeah. I gave it to the cripple.
I wanted you to have it.
Yeah, so there's that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also... Go ahead.
I've been hoping it ends up in Littlefinger's back.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what we had kind of mentioned, like, when they spoiled that Arya had the knife in a freaking Entertainment Weekly magazine cover. They showed, and of course, Game of Thrones freaks were all over it, like, that's the knife from season 1.
I didn't get that cover.
But I think, I don't know if we talked about it, Robin, but, there is the whole theory that Littlefinger is the one who actually sent the cat's paw to kill Bran.
Yeah, and I still kind of think that, too, that it's been him all along.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still entirely possible, which makes it really interesting that he would just give it to Bran.
Yeah, and I think they were bringing that knife back into the story, maybe to finally explain that, like...
Right. Well, because we
don't introduce a gun.
Yeah.
Unless it's going to be used.
I don't know.
Yeah, Chekhov's Valyrian steel dagger.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah, because even though it's not gone into in as much detail in the show, like in the show, they never even really addressed it after season 1, right? The dagger and who sent the cat's paw to kill Bran.
Maybe. They definitely, they kind of just showed that in, previously.
Right.
Episodes, they referred to it.
I'm asking because in the books, there's actually, Tyrion is trying to figure out who did it. Yes. Because, remember, Littlefinger blamed Tyrion.
Because he had the knife, but...
Right, and Littlefinger knew that that's why... And the reason Tyrion comes to is he believes Joffrey sent the cat's paw.
Yeah.
Because at one point, I think it's like before Joffrey's wedding when they're presenting the gifts, and Joffrey has the sword, that Tywin gave him, and he says, like, I'm no stranger to Valyrian steel.
Yeah.
Which leads Tyrion to believe it must have been Joffrey who did it. And then the way he works it out is that, and then I think Jaime and Cersei even have a conversation about it, where they come to the conclusion that it was Joffrey. Yeah, the reason Cersei and Jaime come to is that Joffrey did it to please Robert, who had said it would be a mercy to kill Bran, to put him out of his misery, basically. But that whole logic doesn't really make that much sense. Because it's like, there's a lot of ins and outs to it, but it's like, would Joffrey, send just some random dude with a dagger he stole from Robert? Because remember, it apparently came from Robert's chest.
Okay.
The dagger he stole from Robert in order to please him by killing his best friend's son. Like, even Joffrey isn't that stupid. And and also, like, why would Joffrey say that he's no stranger to Valyrian steel when, if he had done that, he wouldn't have sent the cats, or it was the Catspaw who was really using the Valyrian steel dagger, not him. So I still think it's probably Littlefinger. But the big flaw in that plan is that how was Littlefinger able to communicate that, He was all the way in King's Landing. How did he send a message to a random person in Winterfell?
He probably got birds. Birds, just like bears,
Magical little birds. Or maybe it's teleportation like in the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole Valyrian steel dagger and everything is a very interesting mystery. I went into it a little bit on the pilot episode of this podcast, and it's one that I'd like to revisit as an entire episode, because I think one of the ones I caught on my read, I think Mance Rayder is a possible culprit.
Oh.
Because he says that, he tells Jon later on that he was there, when Robert came and got your father and all that, and he tells Jon he wanted to, like, size him up king to king. And then one of the little George R. R. Martin notes is that he says he brought down his loot and a bag of silver. And after the attack happens, Catelyn is told that they found the where the Catspaw had been sleeping, and he had a bag of silver with him. So I think that's pretty good evidence for Mance Rayder. But that's a mystery to solve another time. Let's get back to the episode. Was there anything else with the Arya, Bran, and Sansa reunion?
Not that I can think of.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I did like it,
Yeah.
I didn't have too much to be upset about, and I
and
really...
That was a cool fight with Brienne, too. It was pretty
That
cool.
was a cool fight, yeah. I did really enjoy seeing them fight.
Well, maybe the fan speaks, but you don't really see too many women fighting each other.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So that's pretty cool.
And it's also cool because it's like, Brienne was able to defeat the Hound.
Yeah.
And the fact that Arya is now good enough to beat Brienne, that means she's a better fighter than the Hound even.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I had to go step out to do some laundry. Right. I'm back in. But, yes, as soon as I, saw Brienne talking to Pod, like, before even, I was like, oh, man, Arya's gonna fight her.
Oh, yeah.
like, before she was, earlier on, that was one of my favorite scenes, I think.
It was. But I do have to wonder, like, how strong is Needle? Like, Brienne's sword is huge.
Yeah, that's true.
I was really worried, like Arya wouldn't be able to... I mean, I guess it's kind of explained away by the water dancing fighting style, where it's more about deflecting rather than, you know, like, brute force and, like, holding off another sword.
True. I mean, Brienne's pretty, like, has... like how many inches on her and like how many pounds and strength.
It's the way she was able to beat her, by kicking her.
Yeah.
She's got them legs.
Yeah.
That reach.
Like when she got pissed at that one point, at first she was like, haha, this is funny, and then all of a sudden she's like, no.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I think that's about it for their reunion. So now back on Dragonstone, Dany and Missandei are doing a pretty bad job at passing the Bechdel test by talking about Grey Worm and Jon.
Yes.
But hey, whatever. It's what they're given to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one couple I have, like, no... Like, we didn't even talk about that scene last week, because I'm like, I don't even... It was, like, boring. I don't care about you two.
Yeah. Oh, the Missandei Grey Worm?
Yeah, it's just not interesting to me. I don't know.
No, me either. I felt like it was in there just to have more nudity.
Yeah, like the gratuitous HBO scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like whenever people give me the rebuttal to my various things that I state, and they say like, well, they don't have time to like do all that or any sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like if they cut out the sex scenes or just cut them down, they could save a lot.
Yeah, and fit in other cooler things.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
But, oh man, after that was the cave painting scene.
Cave was cool.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear from you guys first. What do you guys think of the cave paintings and the children of the forest leaving?
What? I thought it was interesting that the children of the forest were on a rock.
On Dragonstone, yeah. I did think about that.
How
Like,
did they get there? There's no forest on Dragonstone that we've seen. I mean, I was just taking that really literally. That was my first thought.
no, that's a really great point. Because, like, Dragonstone is a volcanic island out in the middle of Blackwater Bay. So,
south,
yeah, I guess...
It's interesting that they were there.
I guess it's supposed to imply that one of two things. Either before the children of the forest were, like, everywhere in Westeros, or B, that they retreated to Dragonstone after the White Walkers and the men came.
Possible, yeah.
But, yeah, I did feel that way, too, because, like, we've seen pretty much all of Dragonstone at this point, and there are no trees. And the children of the forest are all about them trees.
Yeah. It was interesting that I mean, I thought it was like, he's like, hey, come see these drawings. And, you know, I'm like, what if Jon was just in there painting it?
Yeah.
That's exactly what Dinez was saying. I was talking to her the other day about it.
Yeah, look, I told you the White Walkers are real.
Like she was like...
And behind the spray paint.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was like, those eyes were way too blue. There's no way those have been there for thousands of years. Jon just like puts away the chalk real quickly. Look, White Walkers, we gotta go now.
Yeah, but I don't think Jon is very artistic at all, so...
Oh, definitely. But they did look like children's drawings.
Yes. So, either way, but it was interesting that history was there.
Yeah.
And because I think we talked a bit about a theory that the children are the ones who created the White Walkers or something.
Well, that was actually shown in the show.
Okay.
Yeah, that was demonstrated. So I guess the children decided... Yeah, I think the idea is that... And it's totally not given in the books. I have a completely different theory for what's going on in the books. But in the show, Bran saw when he was talking to Leaf, that child of the forest.
Okay.
And then he saw through the weirwoods that the children created the White Walkers from men. Like they put a dragon glass or obsidian dagger into a man's heart, and he turned into a White Walker. So I guess they decided to keep record of the fact that White Walkers exist, but they didn't want to cop to the fact that they created them in the paintings, because that would tell Jon and Dany that. But yeah, I think it was more just to serve as Jon having more evidence to Dany. But even though she's still like, all right, well, bend the knee and then I'll help.
Yeah, she just won't let that go.
Yeah.
She really won't.
Yeah.
And
you think, she's, out of allies.
yeah.
Nobody left but Jon, who's, her prisoner now.
I know. And she's all like, well, you better bend the knee or else.
Bend the knee.
And, didn't she even tell Yara, you can be queen of the Iron Islands as long as you stop reaving?
Yeah.
So
it's also pretty ironic that Jon won't, when he had to convince the
Mance?
Yeah, he had to convince them to bend the knee to come into...
But they didn't, remember. Mance said, all the same, we do not kneel. So maybe Jon took that message to heart. I think that is what they were going for with it, was that, Jon looked up to Mance and learned from him, not to do that. But also, interesting Game of Thrones historical precedent, the king in the north, Torrhen Stark, when Aegon the Conqueror invaded Westeros 300 years ago, he became called the King Who Knelt, because he did bend the knee after he saw all the destruction they had caused in the south. He was like, there's no way we can beat dragons. So he just accepted it. And as a result, Aegon made him Warden of the North and said, the Starks will always be the Wardens of the North, and the Starks and Targaryens had pretty good relationships from then on. So it is kind of interesting that Jon's going to die on this hill of not bending the knee.
Yeah, it's part of me was just come on, Jon, just do it already.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't blame them either.
They're going to wait until they're, having sex or something.
Oh, God.
It's going to be awful.
Yeah.
He's going to say, now I bend the knee.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, it'll be some really terrible lie.
Yeah.
Well, because we know he's awesome at oral sex with Ygritte.
Oh.
As Grey Worm is apparently, too. All the virgins are spectacular at oral sex. Shall I give my cave painting spiel?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
All right. So before I give this explanation, I want to say this. I hope they don't do this. Even though I do think that I'm correct in this being what George R. Martin intended, I don't believe George was ever going to make it explicit, and I really hope the show doesn't, because they will definitely not do a good job of it, and I can't even see how George could do a good job of it. But having read all of the George R. R. Martin short stories, he wrote lots of sci-fi in the 70s and 80s. Melissa, you've read most of them. You actually gave me a couple of those books, like Sand Kings was one collection of them. There's another one called Tough Voyaging that's like a series about a guy who He's basically George R. R. Martin in a lot of ways. And basically, the reason I bring this up is because George Martin created an entire fictional sci-fi universe. Like, his sci-fi stories all take place in the same universe.
Okay.
They're at different points in the history of this universe, but most of his sci-fi does take place in it.
It's called, what, The Thousand Worlds?
Yeah, The Thousand Worlds. And to make a very long story short, the basic concept is that humanity, discovers space flight in the future, expands way out into the galaxy, and while out there, they come into contact with alien species, and a lot of these alien species are hive-minded. And one particular group, the Harangans and the humans, go to a massive intergalactic war over it. Like, to the point where they essentially wipe each other out. And a lot of the planets that remain where humans had colonized, a lot of them end up losing space travel because of the devastation of the war. And
pretty much reverting, right?
Exactly. And as a result, their technology regresses. There's one really good one that was actually the second one we ever read, because it was the second short story in Sand Kings, where it's a girl on a planet that has medieval technology, and the orbit of the planet is weird so that their seasons last longer than on Earth. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. And on this planet, she, she's part of this medieval world, and she comes across a woman with a spaceship, but she doesn't know it's a spaceship. She thinks it's just like a weird room. And the woman is kind of like a Melisandre type, and she kind of like shows her all these pleasures and what like the universe out there is like, and is essentially trying to tempt this little girl to go with her, out into space and that sort of thing. And the girl ends up deciding against it and remaining on her planet. But anyways, the reason I bring all of this up is because an important aspect of this, what led to the devastation of the war, is the Ecological Engineering Corps. And in Tough Voyaging, the one that's actually like a full book of this one character's stories, he comes across an old Ecological Engineering Corps seed ship where they can manipulate DNA and create all these different animals. They can create not just animals that exist, but like they can combine DNA and create weird things. And their symbol, the Ecological Engineering Corps, was the theta. Now, if you notice in the cave paintings, pretty much everything was either a theta or looked like a spiral galaxy, if you ask me. Like, I looked in there and all I saw was stars, imagery from space. And I know I'm a crazy tinfoil theorist, but I even thought that the men that they showed looked like spacemen.
Well, that I thought was a little...
You disagreed with me.
I disagreed, but...
Go ahead.
But I do think, the show writers have said that George R. R. told them what he had in mind for his books, how it was going to end. So I do think that it is a good possibility that they are going that route. I didn't for a while. I thought, well, they're probably not going to even want to try to attempt that. Yeah. They're going to just figure something else out because the show has diverged so much from the books. But again, after this episode, it does feel like that they are going to try to stay true to what George R. has said will be the ending, and I don't know how they're going to do it or how it'll play out. But I thought it was interesting. You said you don't know if George R. R. will be able to accomplish it. I think he will, just because he's so, like you said, decades into this universe, and I think like he has some sort of, he's just working like crazy on this, but.
Well, the thing is, though, it's not that I don't think he could do it. It's that if he did do it, I feel like he'd make it really subtle. Like...
Well, yeah, not maybe as blatantly as the show will, like, they're aliens!
Yeah,
and,
an alien ship lands, or, like, they come across a computer or something.
Yeah,
no.
What did I say? Like, I feel like...
yeah, it was Earth all along.
Like the last episode will just be, like, us, like, going into a spaceship with these people being like, oh, look at them, these medieval...
Right, like they zoom out and it turns... Oh, what if that thing that's like swirling in the intro, you know, the gyroscope thing? What if that's the spaceship?
Oh, weird.
And like, you know how the intro is all about like going around Westeros and seeing this stuff get built up? If that's it, like we zoom out of Westeros and then we come up and there's a bunch of aliens and they're just like watching, or it would probably be that, like, they come across and they're like, here's another, you know, civilization that has lost space travel.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel like it is. It's like, oh, those peasants, you know, like...
Shall we tell them that, like, humanity is not like that anymore?
Or they're, like, betting on who's going to win.
Yeah, they want to know who's going to win the Iron Throne.
Like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So...
Big Hunger Games for, like, I'm picturing, like, Kang and Kodos.
Yeah, yeah, Kang and Kodos, exactly. That's total puny humans.
Hunger Games.
But, yeah, so I was debating if I even wanted to, like, say that on the podcast, because I do want it to be noted that I do think that's a possibility. However, I really, really, really hope they don't do it. Like, I feel like we were saying, like, it'd be kind of like the Battlestar ending.
Yeah.
Where it's like, did we even need that? You know? Did we even need to know that, like, they were humans that came down to Earth? Like I felt like it would have been fine without it. And I feel like in Game of Thrones, it really would be fine without it.
Yeah.
And I really don't want it to be handled poorly and to turn people off of the show.
Yeah.
Like, you know, can't you see, like, if that is the season finale or the series finale next year, a bunch of people being like, oh, that means all of Game of Thrones is not good anymore because I didn't like that ending.
That's how people feel about Lost, you know? And I like Lost, and then a lot of people kind of just wrote it off after the finale. Like, what do you mean? You know, like...
Yeah.
And, so I could see that.
That's a perfect example. Like I feel like if it is a poorly done ending, that it would kind of ruin a lot of Game of Thrones. And I really hope they don't do that. And, you know, as much as I would like to be vindicated on thinking this, because, like, people have gotten upset with me when I've told them this. They've been like...
Oh, yeah, you should definitely put a spoiler for telling this whole theory, because some people might not want to...
Not even want to hear it? Yeah. I'll be sure to tag this in the comments, or in the description. But honestly, I agree with that. Or not agree with them, but I understand why people don't like this idea, why it sounds kind of stupid, ultimately. And I think it's much better if it's something that George left really subtly. You know, it's kind of hints of it here and there, and we'll definitely do a whole episode on the hints that he leaves in the books. Because, like, there's everything from the origin stories of the various houses kind of hint at this being a possibility. A lot of the buildings and structures they find are weirdly technologically advanced. And there's a lot of little hints in the books, and I would just love it if George left it as just kind of a thing for only a few people to know. You know, like only if you're a freak like me who reads way too much into this stuff do you know. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that idea, Robin?
No, I think that's pretty cool. Like, even if this exists in that universe and they never even connect it, like, that's still, like, a cool possibility. You know? Like, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I like it more as being a possibility and a way of reading it. That's why I don't want them to actually come out and say it or do it.
Yeah, that would be, you know, like you said, that's a good little Easter egg for, like, people who've done the deep reading.
Yeah, it's like an inside joke almost.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, too? Like, the swirly images and stuff. You know what it reminded me of?
What?
Of Gallifreyan, like the Gallifreyan writing. I don't know if you guys watch Doctor Who at all, but Gallifreyan writing is
I was just trying to remember what that reference was.
and George is also a Doctor Who fan. So
he is.
You know, there's definitely like that idea of like something beyond earthly or just really ancient knowledge. These circles, you know, like it's interesting, and it's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to the world than just there. That's very
it's not just, it's just fantasy, like, don't read into it any further. It's like, you can find some of those cool sci-fi things if you look hard enough.
Yeah, that's cool.
I guess we should get to the big battle.
Yeah.
The one of the best scenes they've had in years.
Oh, that was pretty great.
Man, for all the little complaints and nitpicks I've had throughout the years about recent seasons of Game of Thrones, while I was watching that, I was really pumped and just like having a great time.
Yeah. Oh, and what did you think of Theon and John's reunion too? Like,
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, because I know you're a Theon fan, but he's like, I was really hoping he'd punch him in the face or something.
Of course.
Yeah, like I mean that's what I thought, but then he was like,
Theon.
He's like, but look, you did that for my sister.
That's the only reason,
Yeah.
And then,
which is like, thank God Sansa told him that.
As soon as Theon was pulling up to the water, I was like, wouldn't it be so funny if he just jumps back into the water like he jumped off the deck?
Oh shit, John's here?
Yeah. That would have been amazing. But I just love that line that John had that led into the battle, which was like, she's not here. like, she's not here, and she left, you know, and then you cut to, like, Jamie, I think, again, and then back on the field, and the loot train.
Once again,
it's just a great transition into that.
I can kind of buy that she was able to fly her dragons all the way there that quickly, but, man, the teleportation continues.
Yeah, so go Frosty, eh?
Tyrion was there. They were supposed to be in the middle of the continent.
Yeah, they flew.
Yeah.
They got some speed.
But yeah, and then, as we were saying earlier, and the Old West was really telegraphed, whether it was the loot train or the those mountains or that look kind of like the Grand Canyon. And then, of course, here come Dothraki screamers, hooting and hollering like Native Americans.
Yeah, I think one of the only complaints I had about the battle was, you know, she comes in with the dragon and like the Dothraki are coming in and whatnot, but it seems like couldn't she have done a little more damage first before bringing the Dothraki in? Like, she has a dragon. Like, she could have just, like, set fire to pretty much all of them, but they're, like, instead they're simultaneously going in. And, like, how accurate is Drogon's, like, fire breathing that he's only getting the Lannisters? Like, having, you know, the
certainly she must have hit some Dothraki.
Well, yeah, but, like, it just... To me, it seemed like it would have made more sense for her to go in first, like, set a bunch of fire, and then for the Dothraki to just, like, kill the, like, small amount of leftover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's real quickly, though, talk about like the amazing achievement they did with this battle. Robin, the thing you had posted.
Those numbers.
Yeah,
it was one of the most fire sets ever on a set with the simultaneous fire.
Yeah, and didn't it also break the record for most stuntmen on fire at once?
Which is pretty amazing.
Which I seriously, I have to applaud the show for that, because I've always been a fan of practical effects, and for them to actually do, and it worked. Like, you felt those dudes on fire.
It was pretty, like, graphic and horrifying, like, watching.
It really was. Yeah,
like,
Jamie seeing them burn.
Yeah, like, they would cut to Jamie or Braun or the other guy kick on, and you just kind of be like, it was horrible, like, what they were seeing, like worse than, like, World War I, you know? Like, it was really horrific. Just everyone on fire. And it was pretty gross. And even though, like, you know, I'm kind of, like, rooting for Danny anyway, like, oh, this is brutal.
It's, like, mixed feelings. You're
like... It was really horrible.
That's kind of what the big point I wanted to talk about with this whole sequence. Because, like I said, you know, I was watching it just like my heart was pounding. I couldn't sleep after that episode because I was just like so revved up to see it. But it raises the question, and like, you know, Melissa, you were showing like people on Facebook are like so excited, like, yeah, fire! It raises the question, did they give it the level of nuance to demonstrate, like, this is kind of horrible what she's doing. You know? Like, she is lighting men on fire by the hundreds, if not thousands. And we're still rooting for her for some reason. Shouldn't we not like Danny anymore? Isn't she pretty awful? And, like, you know, in the past, like, she's lit, you know, innocent men on fire previously. And, like, yeah, she smashed the slave trade, but, like, it was pretty brutal in the way she did it. So I'm really curious, like, how do you guys feel? Do you think that, do the showrunners, are they trying to send us a violence isn't the answer message? And B, if they are the masses getting it? Because I don't think so.
I don't know. Like, there was been so much focus on, you don't want to be the Queen of Ashes, and then that's what she went and did. Although it was just attacking the army, it wasn't like she attacked King's Landing.
Yeah, but you're right. John had literally just told her, you don't want to be the kind of queen that goes and burns cities. You want to be the kind of queen that burns armies.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe she thought that was a better alternative to go after them, because, you know, they literally just did the same thing to Highgarden. You know, they killed everybody there.
Right.
It's not like they were innocent either.
Of course.
Yeah, it is a lot. There's a lot of, like, you know, the ethics of it is mind-blowing.
But then also the people are still supporting Cersei, who just blew up the Sept,
right.
you know, like, and
course.
killed a bunch of innocent people. Like, and if Cersei had dragons, are you kidding me? Like, what would she be doing? Like,
it would have been a one-season show if Cersei had dragons.
In a similar vein, I would like to bring up the Battle of the Blackwater.
Yeah.
You know, it was like people were excited to see Tyrion, you know, and Bronn again, light the wildfire and destroy all of Stannis' ships. But it's like Tyrion was supporting Joffrey. Like, are you really excited? Like, I know everyone loves Tyrion, but are you really excited to see Joffrey continue to be propped up? And meanwhile, Stannis was viewed by a lot of people. I know, you know, before I read into the nuance and everything, I kind of saw Stannis as a bad guy. But if you think about it, Stannis was absolutely right. Like, he did have the right to the Iron Throne. He was the next in line, since Joffrey was, you know, a bastard of incest. And clearly a much worse king than Stannis would have been. Like, I really hope the average viewer is having this discussion and having this conversation and thinking about it. What maybe they could have done, maybe the, like, in the Lannister army, maybe, like, you see by Jaime and Bronn or whatever, or you see lining up the dudes that were with Ed Sheeran. You know? Like, not Ed Sheeran, because we don't want to see him anymore. But maybe you show, like, those men who were just explaining that, you know, like, I just want to go home and, like, you know, I want to see my father and I want to see my baby, whether it's a girl or a boy. Like, maybe you show that, like, some of these men did not deserve that. Yeah.
Or there's no humanity to the armies, really, other than that one scene.
Yeah.
And same with the Dothraki, though, too. Like, they're not really, like, they're just, you know, warriors and...
Yeah, that's another thing. Like Dothraki are brutal people.
Yeah.
You know, like we witnessed in the first season that they just go into a town of shepherds and literally rape and murder all of them.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty awful, but I felt like people were like, rah rah, go Dothraki. Check out that dude, he's dual wielding the air axe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. Because he really, like, there's no clear good and evil is what it comes down to in this show. Like, you know, it is that well developed, all these characters, that they have all these sides, you know. It's interesting. And that's what makes it so good, I think, and compelling, that it is a clear cut.
And I mean, the showrunners did mention, like this is the first time we've seen two principal characters on either side of a battle, so that you don't really know who to root for.
Yeah. And I mean, it's right there, two fan favorites were going face to face, like Jaime and Danny. Like, that's pretty terrible. Like, it's like worst case scenario, I thought. I was like biting my fingernails, like, as he was like running up to him. And like, I mean, you know, either way, it's a devastating, like, just, crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we can all admit that Jaime's probably still alive.
Oh, yeah, I don't think he's dead.
That was so stupid. Like the next day, all of the major media outlets were like, major cliffhanger, lead character's life or fate in the balance. What happened? And it's like, come on. Anyone who watches this show knows he's not dead.
Yeah, no, he's not dead.
There's no way.
No, people don't die on this show.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, they die, but you know what I mean. Like, that wouldn't have been a proper Game of Thrones death, I think. I don't think it was dramatic. Like, it was literally too fuzzy to like...
It was, yeah. And
I had to rewind it a couple times to just be like, because I was watching on my computer the first go around, and I'm like, I couldn't even see who it was in the water. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. And you know? So you watched it a couple of times. Was that Bronn that saved him?
I think so. I think it was Bronn.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
I thought so too.
It was a great Bronn episode. Like,
it really was.
When Bronn, like,
MVP Bronn.
Yeah.
Really,
let's
like,
give
Bronn,
the award.
Like, when he lost his money, you know, I mean, that was just a great little scene where he's like torn between, should he go for the arrow?
Do I get the gold?
And of all the people, like, we talked a lot about, like, this crazy arrow and how hard it would be to shoot a moving dragon. Of all the people who gets to do it, it's Bronn.
Yep, of course.
So I think it was somebody like Jaime, well, you know, and it couldn't have been Jaime. He pointed out pretty much what. But I don't know, I just thought it was cool that it was Bronn who got to do that. And it worked.
Yeah.
It actually worked.
Yeah, well, vaguely. Hit him in the shoulder.
Well, but he still brought him down.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but then the dragon still came back and was like,
Uh-huh.
You guys, I'm going to burn your gold. I'm going to burn the gold.
Yeah. Did you guys... Did you guys see the theory, like, some people are thinking maybe the arrow was poisoned?
Oh.
Maybe. Well, here's the thing, though. I don't know if I really believe that one. The reasoning in the article that I was shown was that, like, Qyburn understands poisons, and he might have done it. I don't know, though, because a couple of reasons.
And they would have had to travel with it, or...
They would have had to travel with it. We clearly saw Bronn taking the spears out, and none of them seemed to have anything on them.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have pink lipstick on them?
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, if that means that Drogon is dead, essentially, like, that's not how they're going to kill off a dragon. It's going to be something epic, you know?
Yeah,
like,
probably.
The dragons are their money makers. They spent all this money on the CG for them. I don't think...
They save money, but just having two.
Yeah, that's true. They would save money.
but they still need to have 3 dragon riders at least once, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think he's out of it yet. So.
Nah, me either.
I think but that was just so cool. Like the dragon, just like, oh, that was just so cool effects. I don't know.
It really was. The show really does knock it out of the park when it comes to the CG. Like, it's fantastic, you know? And, like, Robin, you know, I work in 3D animation. Sure. And so I, of course, have an even more nitpicky eye than most people on that. Yeah. And I really can't think of a single time in this show that I've been like, that's bad CG. You know, it's always good. And, man, was that dragon really well done.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, actually, and it's not that it was bad CG. The one thing I would point to is the first time we saw Dany ride Drogon.
Okay.
Remember out of the fighting pit? That looked a little Never-Ending Story-ish.
Oh, yes, that angle. Yeah, it totally was.
Yeah, but the actual CG on the dragon was fine, I thought.
Yeah.
It was just the comping of her onto it, which they fixed. You know, she looked great on top of Drogon there.
Yeah. It looks very realistic.
Yeah.
And
all the practical fire was just spectacular.
Badass. I really want to watch that episode. I've seen it twice. I might watch it again. It's so good.
Again, it's easily the best episode they've done in years. So it's getting a little warm in our computer room. I think maybe we should wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Any last minute things about the episode?
No, I mean, I'm hoping now that we've discussed, like, maybe next week we'll see some of the humanity of that battle, like.
That would be nice, if they really hammer it home.
Yeah, that would be a good thing for them to have. So maybe we'll see that next week.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see a Jaime and Tyrion reunion next week finally too.
Oh, yeah.
This is all about.
That's a great point. Yeah, because they left on good terms in the show.
That's a good prediction. Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to make predictions, too. I think last week, one of the predictions we had made was, I was like, Dany's definitely got to ride a dragon in the next episode. So that happened, on. But
maybe Tyrion will be the one to get Jaime out of the lake, because remember, he was watching.
Oh. Yeah.
Remember, he was like, don't you idiot, idiot. And so maybe...
He was saying everything that all the viewers were thinking.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man, that was just such a great image, though. Jaime on his white horse riding towards Dany on the black dragon.
I was like, he has to. He has to try.
That was gorgeous.
Crazy.
All right. Robin, you want to plug your channel again?
Sure. It's Miss Robin's Nerd Life and Robin and Penny on YouTube.
All right. And once again, we are Explain of Thrones. Find us on YouTube, and if you want to email us any feedback or just to say hi, explainofthrones@gmail.com. And we'll see you all next week when we talk about next week's episode. From our throne to yours, this is Explain of Thrones.